All right, I'm joined by our representative from Team USA / Team Costa Rica, Katelyn Tocci, and my teammate from Team Canada, wave the maple leaf, Alex Sear. All right, guys, we've got a huge podcast today. A lot to cover. Basically, the plan here is this. We're going to create a cheat sheet for you, the listener or watcher, if you're watching on YouTube, and Spotify. We're doing Spotify video now too, guys. Do you know that?
Did not.
Did not know that.
But full disclosure, I'm an Apple Music guy, so I would not know that.
There you go. So we're going to do a big cheat sheet of the Olympics. We're going to cover every single pure running event on the track over the course of this pod for the next week. So from Friday when things start in earnest with the men's 10,000 meter final, all the way through to next Thursday, including all the events next Thursday. And then for next Thursday morning's pod that will drop on Thursday morning at 5:05 Eastern time, we'll cover the final events those coming days. So we'll do mainly the two marathons we'll talk about, but we'll talk about the events that happen on Friday and Saturday as well. It's a pretty busy end of the Olympic session. It feels like a million years from now, especially considering the 14 events that we are going to go through today. So if you're a casual, if you're sort of airdropping in on the Olympics and you're interested in the track events or they're playing in the background, consider this pod your way in on this so that you've got a little bit of knowledge and some context for some of these races. So we're going to go through this chronologically. We've got, as I said before, we've got 14 events. We're going to start with the men's 10,000 meters, which kicks off the track session on Friday at 3:20, I think, in the afternoon Eastern time. We'll stick with Eastern time as our time. And we're going to do the following. We're going to talk about the daytime of the final, the world and Olympic records, so you understand what the world records are and whether or not they're going to be broken, or we think they're going to be broken. The current world champion, the 2021 Olympic champ, who the favorite is going into the Paris race, who the contenders are, if there's any interesting head-to-head matchups from the past that we can talk about a little bit. The big question, is this event worth watching? Should you be putting this on your calendar, in your phone, so you get an alert to tell you to live stream it or get in front of a TV? Will the world or Olympic records be broken? And of course, we will provide our picks so you can look really smart when you're like, oh, this person's going to win. And then they do. And you're like, thank you, Marathon Handbook.
If our picks are correct.
That's right. Yeah. All right, guys. So let's just jump right into it. We got 14 events. Let's go with event number 1, the men's 10,000 meters, which is on Friday at 3:20 p.m. Eastern time. So that's 9:20 p.m. in Paris. So it's under the lights in the Olympic Stadium in Paris. It's always an extraordinary event. It's a straight final. They don't make the distance runners do a preliminary or a semi, which is, I think the only way to go.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, can you imagine? And okay, so we've got the world record holder Joshua Cheptegei of Uganda. He'll be running in this event. We'll be talking, I'm sure, a little bit about him in a couple seconds here. His world record is 26:11 flat. It's from 2020, from the pandemic era. And he's also the current world champ from Budapest last year. And Solomon Barega of Ethiopia is the reigning Olympic champion. And he is also going to be in this race as well. So, first question. Who's the favorite here, guys? This is we're starting with a tough one. This is probably, I think, one of the toughest ones to pick.
Just because there's no one obvious. So I think that this is, Alex, go for it.
Well, no one obvious. I mean, I feel like you would have asked me this 2 years ago and it would have been Cheptegei's race to lose. But now you almost can't call him the favorite because he's going to be contending against Ethiopia's top 3 runners. And Ethiopia could have picked from a range of men. They have the 6 fastest times in the world this year. Like, think about that. Okay. I think their top 2 guys are probably Yomif Kejelcha and Hagos Gebruet. They're very competitive with each other. So I don't know if it's going to be much of a, like, these 2 guys are working together to beat Cheptegei scenario, as much as like they're going to take it out in the front and then try to kill each other in the last lap. But either way, I think that's really hard for the Ugandan, right? So who's supposed to win? No one has a 26-11 like Cheptegei does, I don't think. But also, I'm not sure if Cheptegei has that himself. So I'm not sure. Michael, you're bullish on Grant Fisher, and I know this.
Yeah. I mean, we've watched him grow up. So Grant Fisher, American distance runner, 5,000, 10,000 meter guy, Bowerman track club guy, trains with Mo Ahmed of Canada, who is also in this race. And he's just had a really good year. And I mean, I'll just jump ahead here, but he's my dark horse pick. You know, if you're not going to pick from any of the pure contenders, if you're not going to go with an Ethiopian or a Ugandan, because Uganda's sort of got this like powerhouse duo with Cheptegei and Jacob Kiplimo, who is, I mean, you could pick him as the winner, as the favorite. I have it down as a toss-up. I have no idea who the favorite is here. If you were to go back just a few short years, it's a very different story. And now it just kind of feels like, I mean, I jotted down 6 contenders here, including Mo Ahmed, Grant Fisher, Jacob Kiplimo, Barega. I mean, the Ethiopian guys are all contenders. It's just like, I don't know who's going to win. I just don't know. And I think that is the reason why this is a definite must-watch race, especially if you're a fan of the longer distance stuff. If you're listening to this podcast, obviously you're interested in long distance running. This one will be very exciting. It's probably going to be like a hot, sweaty night in Paris under the lights, and they're all going to be checking each other, and it's going to come down to probably the last 800 meters. Someone will start pushing in the penultimate lap, and it will get very, very exciting. And I like you said, Alex, I don't think Cheptegei is a runaway favorite this time around, even though he's got the hottest overall time. That's 4 years ago. So who knows? So what do you guys think? Do you think that this event's worth watching?
Of course, it's going to be a close one. I'm going. Can I make my prediction or not yet?
Make your fire away, Katelyn.
Okay. Did you drop a bomb on us? What is this?
Yeah.
No. Actually, no. I do have some predictions for our podcast today that I think I'm going to go against what you guys are going to predict. So I think I have some. I'm going for some underdogs. But in this one, I'm not. I'm going to go with the reigning Olympic champ because I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's the way to go. But that's just I don't know. It's going to be too close to tell.
Salomon Barega.
Yeah, Salomon Barega.
He's really good. I mean, if you watch enough like Diamond League and you nerd out on the track and you watch enough YouTube videos, he is a very compelling figure. He's a great championship racer. If you remember from 2021, like he really executed the 10,000 quite elegantly. What do you think? Who's your pick, Alex?
I struggle to go against Kejelcha. Barega is an excellent tactician. Kejelcha is a powerhouse. Now, this is going to be a bad comparison because this guy got busted for doping a few years ago, and I fully recognize this. Okay.
Okay.
Asbel Kiprop in the 1500 was known to be a terrible tactician. Every now and then would throw a race because he was too far out the back, overestimated his abilities, even on the juice. But he was a powerhouse, and when he was on, no one could catch him. Now, my comparison from Kejelcha to Kiprop has nothing to do with doping. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Kejelcha is a powerhouse, and if he's on, no one can get him. I don't think you could say that about Cheptegei because obviously he's run faster than everybody else, but we haven't seen that consistently over the last couple of years like we've seen it with Kejelcha. So my bet is on him. As a Canadian, I would love to see Mo Ahmed mix it up. I'm not sure if he has the gas and the extra gears. it's a very tough race, which brings me back to, yes, watch the thing. Your network might bring you to commercial a couple times, which I will be super annoyed about. But even if you're not like a diehard distance runner, please be there for the last 5 laps. It's going to be phenomenal.
Awesome.
Yeah, I hope there's like a world feed you can stream on your phone that doesn't cut away from the events, that you can select the event and just watch that event locked. Because, I think that although network producers assume that a 10,000 meters is like, it's 20, however many minutes, it's quote unquote boring to watch it all and nothing happens in the first, 8K or whatever. But I think it's worth watching just to ramp up that excitement and a second screen it. You can have your phone and be scrolling and checking out what people are saying as well at the same time. We'll do we're going to do a live blog for a lot of these events. So we'll do a live blog certainly for this event and provide a little bit of color commentary and context. I don't think the world record is going to get broken. Even though there's some top dogs at the peak of their powers, I don't think the world record is going to get broken. Any of you think the world? No?
I think you're too far.
Yeah, it's too strong. People have complained about Paris being hot, even though the race is at night. I don't know. It will take a massive effort to go 26:11. That's an insane time. Do the math. It's like something around 2:35 per kilometer. Yeah, it's an insane. It used to be a Bekele record that got broken, so it's not a weak record.
I should say one thing you should note if you're watching this event is the Olympic record. Speaking of Bekele, the Olympic record is 27:01 and 17 milliseconds by Kenenisa Bekele from way back in 2008. Maybe that might go down. All right, let's move to Saturday. So Saturday, 2:55 p.m. Eastern time. First final event is the mixed 4x400 meter relay. It's a relatively new event that was first contested in the Olympics, just this last Olympics in 2021 in Tokyo. Mm-hmm. So it's got maybe a bit of a soft world record at 3:08.80. So think about that. It's about a mile and it's 3 minutes and 8 seconds. That's pretty impressive. US is pretty dominant at this. They have the world record. They are also the current world champion. Interestingly enough, the world champ from 2021 is Poland. And I don't know if you guys disagree with me, but I think the favorite going in is the United States.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
And the contenders would be this one is a real grab bag. The contenders I'd say are Great Britain, Ireland, Italy, the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a toss-up with, if you take into consideration the United States, maybe they have a bad day. You've got a lot of intrigue in terms of different countries in there, and not your traditional shorter distance countries either. So this event was only introduced into world competitions at the 2019 World Championships in Doha. And as I said before, the U.S. is a dominant force in this one. You guys think this is worth watching?
I think it would be cooler if teams could choose their own order. So it's like, if they go, both men first and both women, or woman, man. I don't think that's how it works at this point, right? You have your dedicated gender slots inside of this race. I think it would add some strategy, but I'll watch it because I watch everything. But also I think the fact that these teams, and no shade to Ireland and the like, but the fact that these teams are the favorites suggests that some countries have probably been strategic and have left their top runners, male and female, outside of this race in favor of other relays. And so, not that it defeats the purpose of the Olympics, but I do think that most people see this as a second-rate Olympic event, if there is such a thing. I'll watch. I think it'll be cool. I applaud, the athletics community for trying out different things. It's always the conversation is, how can we keep the traditional, but also how can we introduce new things? That part is neat, but it doesn't hit like the women's 4x4 or the men's 4x4 to me.
And when will we know exactly who's running?
I think start lists are announced like the day before or the morning of local time in Paris. So we don't have a start list for any of these any of these events right now. Certainly don't have the heats allocated. This one will be a heat semifinal final, if I'm not mistaken. So you're going to see a preamble of races in advance of it. We're only talking about when the finals are. We're giving you just like the bottom line. Should you watch the final or not? I have the US as the pick, as the obvious pick. Are we all in agreement on this one?
I'm in agreement. I don't know about Alex.
Is Alex going to zag?
I know. Look at
Caitlin, miss, my picks are not like your picks.
The Republic of Ireland.
No, yeah. I think I'm pretty bullish on Great Britain when it comes to speed endurance this year. They have an excellent squad of 800-meter women. I don't know if any of them will dip down and run this 400. And then on the men's side, they have Matthew Hudson-Smith, who, again, is he racing this one? I don't know, but he's a 43.7 400-meter runner. He's top in the world. If he makes the team, if he chooses to run on this team, they'll be tough to beat. So I don't want to count on Great Britain. And they're obviously going to want to shake things up and win a couple medals in France. So,
and I think world record watch. Yeah, I think that the world record's up for grabs here, depending on which team a country like the United States puts together. Okay. The truth of the matter is, with this event, that's like a little, like it's an aperitif, an amuse-bouche, if you will.
Oh, wow. He took French lessons for these Olympics.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, they are in Paris after all.
He wants to impress you too, Alex.
Ben oui. That event is a preamble for one of the big showdowns of the Olympics, the women's 100-meter final, which takes place on Saturday at 3:20 p.m. Eastern time. So again, under the floodlights in the Olympic Stadium in Paris, the world record 10:49 by Flojo back in '88 at the Olympics. We talked about that in the last podcast. Oof. The Olympic
I'm so excited for this one, right?
The Olympic record 10:61 by Elaine Thompson-Herah from the last Olympics in Tokyo. Notably, she's Jamaican, of course, and she had some injury issues. She did not qualify for these games. She will not be there to defend her Olympic title. The current world champ, Sha'Carri Richardson of the United States, who ran 10:65 to win the championship last year. And the 21, as I said before, the 21 Olympic champ was Thompson-Herah, who's not competing. Guys, who's the favorite?
Sha'Carri Richardson. 100%.
Yeah, it's her race.
It's her. Yeah, absolutely. I don't feel as though she's going to break any world records. I just feel like she's still a little too far off. I don't know what you guys think about that. I think I just feel like it's a little too steep. The difference between the two, but I definitely feel like she's gonna take it. If all goes well, I think she's gonna take it.
Yeah, I think we're still in the middle of this Sha'Carri Richardson upwards arc. She's young. She gets better by the year. We mentioned this in a previous podcast, but she's hungry to gain Olympic glory after losing out on a position because she failed a drug test for cannabis 3 years ago, which was ridiculous. You know, she's coming in and she wants it. I agree, Caitlin. I think beating a Flojo record is not to be taken lightly. Maybe this is a Sha'Carri project for 2, 3, 4 years time. If she keeps improving this way, this time it would be a huge bite. I mean, I could go and pick someone off the map. I could pick Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce for the win, but I think that would just be a losing bet. I'm really bullish on Sha'Carri here.
Yeah.
We should mention the contenders. This is a stacked, stacked field. We'll use the cliche. I'm gonna roll out the stacked cliche.
Yeah,
but that's what this is. You got Shakira Jackson from Jamaica, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, also Jamaican. One of the goats. And can you have multiple goats? I guess you can. Mary-Josée Tallou-Smith of Cote d'Ivoire, Titi Terry, who's Jackson's teammate and pal from the US. I would anticipate all of them finding their way to the final because you're going to get You're going to get heats, you're going to get semis, and you're going to get a final in very short order on Saturday for this. So head-to-head results worth noting. Yeah, there are a lot of them. There's a real history between Fraser Price and Jackson, of course, as we saw. If you've watched the Netflix docuseries Sprint, they go into that in some detail. There's like a little bit of a rivalry going on in Jamaica between these athletes. I don't know if they probably respect each other, but do they lunch together in the off season? Probably not.
Probably not. I doubt that.
And so you got all kinds of opportunities to watch head-to-head races between this group of contenders over the last few years. And I agree with you, Alex. I think that Richardson is ascending right now. She's got the hottest time, Olympic qualifying time going in. So she's the top ranked athlete as well. I think she's the clear favorite, and I think she will win.
Mm-hmm.
I also
anyone
have
disagree?
Silver. No, I have silver and bronze though too. Should I go there?
You give us your podium.
The podium is I've got the podium for a bunch of them. Richardson, I think we're gonna see Shakira Jackson in second, and I'm going with Julian Alfred for bronze.
Ah, yes. Speaking of dark horse picks, she's my dark horse pick.
She is.
Alfred. Yeah. 1078 season's best coming in. She's just, as we said in last week's pod, she's just in the Netflix docuseries. She was like that other athlete that came in second, right behind the person that they're focusing on. It's like, who's she? And they're like, don't worry about her. Let's focus on the American.
Well, she's one of those athletes to succumb to this decades-long Jamaica-U.S. rivalry taking center stage and all of the stage, really. And if you have a sprinter coming from somewhere else, maybe they don't get the limelight. I have a dark horse. It would be crazy if she won, but I still want to throw some love her way because she's been around for a long time. She's a steady performer, and she has yet to win an Olympic medal. Marie-Josée Talou from Côte d'Ivoire has been I think 12-time African Championships medalist. She won world silver in London in the 100, world bronze in Doha in 2019 in the 100. She is as consistent as they come. She's accomplished pretty much everything a sprinter wants out of their career except getting an Olympic medal. So I'm wishing it for her. I think she's, at this point, quite a bit more senior than most of the athletes in the field. She's very respected on the circuit. And so I'd love to see her as a dark horse, maybe climbing on the podium.
So I don't think world records are going to get broken. You can disagree. No, I think it's
FloJo record.
No, it's
too much.
The Olympic record though is within reach for these athletes, especially if they got a hot track and it's fast. If it's like if it's a hot, sweaty night in Paris on Saturday night, and if this track is indeed as fast as they claim it to be, there's like a new purple Mondo surface that's apparently a little bit quicker than previous surfaces for the Olympics. Maybe we might get an Olympic record, which would be cool. Is this worth watching? I feel like this is the stupidest question I've asked anybody in a long time. Yeah, hell yeah.
Put it on your calendar immediately.
Mm-hmm.
This is
immediately.
In my phone. I'm getting like 3
alarms.
Notifications. Yeah. Do not miss this. Yeah, it's okay. So let's move on to Sunday. Sunday, August 4th.
One event.
Just one. Just
the event.
Clearing out the day for one final, which is the men's 100-meter final, 3:50 p.m. Eastern time. So it's even a little later, 9:50 p.m. Eastern time 9:50 p.m. Paris time locally. The world record is held by one Usain Bolt from 2009, 9:58.
Yeah, it's not going away. That's not going away.
And another one that is not happening.
Olympic record 9:63 from Bolt in 2012.
I don't think so.
No. Current world champ Noah Lyles. He ran 9:83 last year in Budapest to surprise some by becoming the 100-meter champion. More of a pure 200-meter guy, I would say. 2021 Olympic champ, Marcel Jacobs of Italy. He won at 980. Silver went to Fred Curley of the US, 984. And bronze went to our boy, Alex Andre de Grasse of Canada, 989. So who's the favorite going in? This is a bit of a question mark.
Time wise, you want to talk times?
Let's talk times.
Let's talk times
because I'm going with the times.
You're going with the time, Katelyn. I'm waiting for your wild dark horses.
No, well, that's when I get to my bronze here. You're going to say, "Oh, Katelyn, poor thing." Okay. No, but
good.
Okay.
All right.
But I'm going with Jamaica. I'm going with Kashani Thompson from Jamaica because he has the 9.77 as a personal best. So I'm not going to put, I know Noah Lyles and there's so many big Noah Lyles supporters and I want him to do well, but I just don't think I think that Kashani Thompson will be number one.
That's big. That's big.
Right. So we should say Kashane Thompson, who, maybe if you're a casual fan of track, you watch the Netflix docuseries, you've got some familiarity with, you know who Noah Lyles is because he's done the rounds in the media in the last couple of years. But Kashane Thompson actually is the quote unquote fastest man alive this year. The fastest man alive question is like such a weird question because Usain Bolt is not dead.
But he's also not running 977.
He's not running 977.
Right.
Although he would probably like to tell you that he could do it with it's like, give me 2 weeks and I can do under 9.8. But so Kashane Thompson, young athlete from Jamaica, ran the fastest, if I'm not mistaken, the fastest ever 100 to qualify for the Olympics, fastest ever 100 on the national stadium track in Jamaica. He set a course or meet or track record with the 977, which is pretty crazy when you think of it, considering this is the house that Usain Bolt built. But he's perennially injured, Thompson, and he has a tough time being healthy all the way through the rounds, the heats, and the semis and the finals for these types of championships. So that's the big question mark. And I noticed that Lyles sort of talked some smack about Thompson recently at a Diamond League event. When he was asked about Thompson, he was like, yeah, if he can stay healthy, he'll be a threat. We'll see.
And he's also lacking Olympic experience, right? So I don't know if that's going to come into play or not as well.
Okay. And I'm not quick to discard Noah Lyles. So in this documentary Sprint, he plays down the 100 a little bit because he says, the 200 is my wife, the 100 is my mistress, meaning it's the side piece. It's less important for him. But then he does say that. He does. But then he goes on about wanting that triple gold, and for the triple sprinting gold, newsflash, you need the 100. So he's all in on this. I think Thompson's going to need a 977 to beat Lyles. Lyles just went 981 in London a couple weeks ago. That's a personal best, lifetime best. He's getting better towards the Olympics. For sure, he's going to peak well. I think you do need a sub 980 to win this. So I wouldn't be so sure that Thompson's going to run away with it. I would actually pick Lyles.
Okay, see, there we go. Michael?
I went deep down the rabbit hole watching Thompson training videos and TikTok videos of Thompson's starts, and he's like a great starter and a great finisher. He's basically a complete package. He's just incredibly talented. I'll just quickly go through the contenders here because we haven't done that yet. So we got, Thompson, I'd say, is the favorite. Lyles, Sabine of South Africa is just sort of always in it. Seville of Jamaica, he's a 982 guy going in. Our boy Kenny Bednarek of the US cannot be discounted. Fred Curley of the US. And Ferdinand Amanyala of Kenya as well is also someone who's garnered quite a bit of experience recently. So those are your contenders. Lots of head-to-head stuff between those contenders that I just listed. Not so much with Thompson, which is kind of worrying. I think this is tougher than I think the the NBC commentators will let you believe when you're watching the lead up of this race. I would say, I think Noah Lyles wins. I think he wins. Because if he doesn't win, man, it just throws some cold water on a narrative for the Olympic Games, right? Because that's I'd say one of the 5 or 6 key narratives of Paris is the Noah Lyles story, I would say.
It's true.
Especially on the track. So I'm going to go Lyles for the win.
Okay.
My dark horse pick is Kenny or Omanyala of Kenya, who's just kind of always there. And as we saw in Tokyo when Marcel Jacobs upset the field, sometimes in these big events, you get a weird finish. So say Lyles gets a bad start and can't close a gap because he's not an amazing starter, but a great finisher because he's got speed endurance. The other Americans maybe one of the other top Americans doesn't make it to the final. You could get somebody like Omanyala sort of sneak in for the win. That would be cool.
Yeah, that's my dark horse pick too. And if you haven't heard of Omanyala, think of it this way. Omanyala is a bigger name in the sprinting world now than Jacobs was in the sprinting world in 2021 before winning Olympic gold. So crazier things have happened.
Yeah.
And that's who I want for bronze, Marcel Jacobs. I know. I know. I want another upset because I don't like how everyone is just making excuses for him and telling him that he's doing such a terrible job. He's always injured. He's making excuses. So
did you watch Sprint?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. But he just had a great race. His
brain is broken. He's not going to win. It's
Okay. No, I don't think he's going to win. I just want to see him.
No, sorry.
Get in there. I don't think he's going to win either. You don't think he's going to make the finals? You don't think he's even going to make the finals?
I don't think he's going to make the finals. No. Caitlin's saying that he's going to get bronze. I don't think he's even going to make the final.
But if he won, imagine.
Could you imagine?
That would suck. It would, because it would be like the least legitimate dynastic career, because you'd have to be like, well, he's like a dynastic sprinter because he won back-to-back Olympic gold medals and did shit all in between.
Yeah.
Like that
pops out of the Dolomites twice in his life and wins and goes back home.
Like our friend in the 1500 meters, McLuffy.
Taufik McLuffy. Remember him?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. World record will definitely not get broken. Maybe we'll see sub 970, which would be pretty spectacular, which kind of like edges sprinting, men's sprinting closer to that fever pitch apex that it was at a decade ago, but still a million miles away.
So far away.
Love to see a photo of like Usain Bolt's crossing the line and where everyone else has been since that world record. In a stagger. That'd be an interesting photograph, an interesting composite to look at. Okay, so let's move on to Monday.
Okay.
Monday, August 5th, first final, 3:10 p.m. Eastern time, the women's 5,000 meters. So the women's 5,000 meters is going to get a semi and then a final. They don't make them run 3 times 5,000, but they do make them run twice. The world record right now is a cool 14 minutes and 21 milliseconds by Gudaf Sige of Ethiopia. She ran that last year. She's in this race. The Olympic record is 14:26 by Vivian Chariot back in 2016, which is also a very respectable time, but you will note the 26-second difference, and which is like almost half a lap. A difference. It's like a 190 meter difference, probably. Current world champ, Faith Kipyegon. She ran 14:53 in Budapest, followed by Sifan Hassan, who got the silver in Budapest, who was also running this event. It was announced today. So we're recording this on Wednesday. It was announced today that Sifan Hassan, who is one of the great intrigues of this Olympic Games, who was signed up for all 4 middle to distance events, 1,500, 5,000, 10,000, and the marathon, Guys, she's going to make it easy on herself this time. She's doing the 5,000, 10,000 in the marathon. So she's dropping the 1,500.
She did drop the 1,500. I had a hunch.
Drop the 1,500.
Yeah. Okay.
But I heard she picked up archery.
She's going to do 4 events no matter what.
No matter what.
She's going to move over into something
They
else.
should do like a medieval biathlon where it's like you run a 5,000 and you have to like shoot a bunch of arrows in between.
There is something like that exists. I'm going to butcher the details. It's the modern pentathlon where there's
Yeah, that's the one
running,
with the
swimming, horse riding, shooting,
Yep.
and something else involved.
Yeah, you have to like get on the horse, feed it a carrot, ride to a pool, swim back and forth, then you pull a laser gun out of your holster and fire off a few rounds. It's a laser gun, which is cool.
If you want to become good at a really niche thing, look this up.
Okay, so bronze from the World Championships last year was Beatrice Chibet. 2021 Olympic champ, Sifan Hassan. Helen O'Beary was second. She's running the marathon this time around. And bronze was Sige. So the favorite. This is a tough one. This is a tough favorite to pick. What do you guys have as the favorite?
Katelyn.
I feel like it's the obvious choice. I had Sige for the gold. I did have her up there, the world record. And yeah. What about you, Alex?
It's okay. It's tough to not go with Sige.
Yeah.
What's happening with a lot of these distance events, and I know what my bias is. I look at time. Time says a lot to me because even though the race isn't run as quickly as at the Olympics, it's an incredible proof of fitness. And in the last few years, call it new training, call it the shoes, call it I don't know what. Some people in the mid distance and distance events have popped off incredible times that I struggle to overlook. And that 14 flat by Sige is one of them. However, I'm not picking her.
Okay.
She's the best 5,000 meter runner in the field. But the 5,000 meters is rarely run like a 5,000 meters. It's more so run like a 1,500 meters.
Yeah, good one, Alex. This is good. This is good for the listener. It's like a little bit of insight here. You know, these championship 5,000 meters are run very differently than if you watched a Diamond League track meet, like a paced track race in the 5,000, where it's all about speed and sort of like nailing that like bleeding edge pace for 5,000 meters. This is going to be like slow and kind of stilted. And then it's going to be basically like an 800 in the last 800 meters. Yeah,
because it's not about time. Those other races, it's about time because athletes want to qualify for this race. Now we're at this race. It's about the win. So I'm bullish on Faith Kipyegon, who's the best 1,500 meter runner in this 5K field. She set the world record. She has a 3:49 1,500, probably the best all-out speed in the field. If she is still in the running with 1, 2, 3 laps to go, I struggle to bet against her. Of course, Sige is strong and Hassan will be fresh for this one race.
Right.
And so these are two great contenders. I could see it come down to the top 3, but I'm not sure if any of them can outsprint Kipyegon. So that's my pick.
Okay, for the closer then, because she's a great closer. You think that's why she'll take the gold? Okay.
I think so. And I think if Sige wants to shake her, she'll have to go out really, really quickly. And if Sige does that and goes out quickly, maybe it's a duel between her and Hassan, but I have a feeling that's not what's going to happen. It's going to be tactical.
Yeah, I think the only way for Sige to win this would be to do what her countrywoman in Rio in the 10,000 meters, Almazenyana, if you remember that race.
Yeah.
She went out so friggin' hard and gapped the field immediately. I believe she ran a world record in that race, which is very rare for a distance track event in the Olympics, and just challenged anyone to go on this like suicide pace that she went on, and no one did, and she won by like a landslide. She lapped a bunch of the athletes in the final, which is crazy.
Wow, that is crazy.
I don't think that's going to happen in a 5,000 meter, but I wonder if it's entering Sige's mind as she's contemplating her strategy for this race. We should also never not count out Beatrice Chibet of Kenya, who has sort of like been, I hate this term, but like, again, let's roll out a track cliche or a sports cliche. She's been the bridesmaid in many of these championships and Olympics in the last few years. She's always in that 1, 2, 3 mix, and a tough, gritty runner. So she should be a contender you should consider, maybe a dark horse pick for you. And in terms of head-to-head results, like all these athletes that we just listed have raced each other a whole bunch of times in the last 3 or 4 years. So there's all sorts of examples of them battling it out with varying results. I agree with you, Alex. I think Kipyegon's going to win. And I think she's going to win for exactly the reason you just described. I think you just did us all a service by kind of like putting that into context. And another dark horse pick we should not entirely rule out, maybe for like a bronze, Elle St. Pierre of the United States.
Okay.
Yeah. She ran really well at the US Olympic trials, really controlled that race. Looked like she's a total pro and knows what she's doing in a championship situation. So she's been running really well, and she's somebody who, don't be surprised if she grabs a medal. That'd be cool.
Yeah, and she's from that ilk too, right? 1500 speed, good top end speed. A race that favors Kipyegon could also favor St. Pierre.
I don't think the world record's going to get broken, but the Olympic record I think should go down if it's a quick race. Okay, so let's move on. We got so many events left to go here. Women's 800 meter final. We're gonna roll. It rolls right into things. Right after this 5,000 meter final, we get the women's 800 meter final, which is another like super cool event. 3:45 p.m. Eastern time. World record is 1:53:28 from back in 1983. Widely believed to be substance aided.
That was one of my questions I was going to throw out there for you guys, which is for a whole nother podcast. Why are there so many records in the 80s that we just cannot break?
Why are all these Eastern European records from the 1980s that just seem impossible to touch, even though we have all of this science and technology to aid us in the last few years? Yeah. Yep. So the Olympic record is also a 1:53 from 1980 from a Soviet athlete. ? Exclamation mark. Current world champ, a thing Mo.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
Qualify for this Olympic Games and would have been the clear favorite going in. It would have made this conversation we're about to have about this event a totally different conversation. Yep. She obviously, or not obviously, but she, as we've talked before, she tripped in the US trials final, didn't make the games. So she's out. Keely Hodgson, silver, Great Britain runner. Think she's the favorite now. And Raven Rogers grabbed bronze in 2021. She is not competing at these Olympic Games. I would say, does anybody disagree with me on the favorite here?
I do not, Alex.
Hodgkinson? No, she's the favorite. She's the favorite. 1, 2, 3, Great Britain possibility, but I think Hodgkinson's the fittest out of all of them. I think if Mo was in the field, she might have been the one to challenge these old mythical 1:53 records, but don't count Hodgkinson out, I think, for those times. The 800 is a race. Yeah, I agree. I think the 800 is one of those races where people can really rip in a final because there's no real strategy in an 800. What you do is you go out just about as hard as you can and hold on till the end. And if it works out for you, it works out for you. It's the longest race in track and field devoid of strategy. And I'm open to an 800 meter runner proving me wrong. I've only run a few back in my day and obviously never at the Olympic level, but it was always just go balls to the wall for under 2 minutes. What happens happens.
On for dear life.
Yeah.
I've talked to a number of 800 meter Olympians, very high level Olympians, Melissa Bishop of Canada being one of them, and coaches as well that have coached 800 meter specialists. And they all say the exact same thing. They're like, basically you run a really hard 400. It's going to be dependent on what others are doing in the race. If the field wants to slow it down, great. But it's usually a very fast opening 4, and then you just hold on for your life and throw everything you got at it.
Yeah.
And see what you got in the last, when you hit that final bend with 100 and change meters to go, you see what you got inside of you. And
because it's also the fastest event in which people are all in the same lane. So going somewhat slowly and tactically becomes a bit dangerous around the corners. So I think that also just motivates it too. People just want to run near the front as much as they can. Yeah. So it ends up being a fast race. So yeah, my win is Hodgkinson because she has the best flat out speed. And I think this really matters here.
We should also note the contenders, her fellow countrywomen, Gemma Ricci and Georgia Bell are also contenders, as well as Mary Mora of Kenya, who is no joke. She's run 156. She's got, I think, the world lead going into this year, if I'm not going into this race, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, there's been some head-to-head results worth talking about, but mainly between the UK runners and with Mo out of the picture, it's basically as you've said, a UK showdown, which is really interesting. So is this event worth watching?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'd say so. I think an 800 meter final, men's or women's in the Olympics, is exciting always. And the added intrigue of whether or not Great Britain can go 1, 2, 3, which would be highly unusual and quite exciting, I imagine, especially for British, that are the British listeners out there. And who do you guys think will win?
I'm going to stick with Hodgkinson.
There you go.
Yeah,
we'll go chalk here. I agree with you guys as well.
Okay.
Dark horse pick.
Can Ricci count as a dark horse?
Kind of, I guess.
It's a bit of a weak dark horse pick. I just think she's been the one to hold the line against Hodgkinson in recent years. She's looked strong. She has the Olympic experience. I think I'm going Ricci with the dark horse. She's not meant to win, and I think she'll win. That she could win. I think she could win. That's a dark horse pick.
Yeah, one I flagged that is a legit dark horse is the top seeded American going in, Nia Akins, who really kind of, I mean, she didn't I was going to say she capitalized on Mo's fall in that she ran a really smart race. I mean, I'm sure she feels awful that Mo didn't make it as a teammate and a fellow American, but at the same time, she ran a really smart race. And I think she's got the 6th or 7th fastest time going in. But she's somebody who has shown a little bit of tactical intelligence with her racing this year. So she's somebody who would be like a legit dark horse to win a medal. And I don't think there's not a chance in hell the world record's going to get broken, Alex. I don't think it's 153 it's like 156 or 155 would be lightning fast, and 2 seconds back from that is a million miles away. I don't think it's going to get broken.
I'm saying they're going at least 154.
Oh, okay. All right. So getting closer.
Do you remember when sub 2 was world class?
Was good
in this event. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Tuesday, August the 6th.
Ooh, this is a good one.
Open your calendars right now. Okay, everyone.
Right now. Stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
Take the day off work.
You have to watch this one.
Yeah. Afternoon off, late lunch, 2:50 p.m. Eastern time.
Yep.
Men's 1,500 meter final. I'm going to spoil whether or not this is worth watching. Oh, yeah.
Of course.
This is one of the marquee events of the Olympics, I think. This is it's must-see TV. Absolutely hyped. And the reason for that we'll get into in a second. Let me just go through the checklist here. World record held by Hakim El Garouj of Morocco from way back in 1998. 326 flat. Easy number to remember. And another easy number to remember is sub 328, I would say, is an incredible performance at a world championship event. So you keep these numbers in mind. Sub 330 is solid. Olympic record, our boy Jakob Ingebrigtsen of Norway, who is at the peak of his powers right now, and we're going to talk all about him in 1 second. He ran 3:28.32 in Tokyo for the Olympic record and is the reigning gold medalist Olympic champ. The current world champ from last year, a guy by the name of Josh Kerr, who represents Great Britain, he ran 3:29.38 in order to secure the world championship. And these guys absolutely fucking hate each other.
Mhm.
It's amazing. And that's why this event is going to be just fire. Is Josh Kerr versus Jakob Ingebrigtsen. It feels kind of like both of them have had their moment. They've raced each other this year, which is something you don't get to see very often in these sort of heavyweight style fights. They often, top flight athletes at the peak of their powers, avoid each other. These guys are going at it. They don't like each other. They talk a lot of shit about each other all the time. It kind of feels like this is like the rematch or something. Like this is like again, to keep that kind of boxing analogy, this is like Holyfield Mike Tyson 2 or whatever from back in the day. After one of them, I don't know who's biting whose ear off here. I kind of feel like Ingebrigtsen would be the ear biter.
The biter.
Yeah.
I literally feel like I'm watching pre-MMA, like they're literally like trashing each other like an MMA meet. Like that's why it's going to be exciting.
That's what they should do at these press conferences. Just have them like do a weigh-in, and they're like nose to nose, and they've got their people around them.
Yep.
But they're all like 120 pounds soaking wet and 5'9" or whatever. Yeah. So a couple of contenders here. Let's go through it. The contenders are, I'd say the favorite. Okay, so I think the favorite's Ingebrigtsen. Do you guys disagree?
I don't disagree. I think there are two favorites. Give it to Ingebrigtsen slightly, even though Kerr has a winning record against him this year.
Right.
Olympic record holder, Olympic champ. Sure.
So the contenders would be Kerr, Alex's boy, Yared Nuguse of the United States. Tim Chariot of Kenya is no joke. Brian Coleman of Kenya, also no joke. This is going to be a fantastic race. I think any of those contenders are going to be in it at the Bell Lap. And there's all kinds of head-to-head past races that we just listed off that you can watch on YouTube to get yourself hyped up for this. I highly recommend you do that, including all sorts of clips of these guys talking shit about each other. Who's going to win?
Alex, Alex, do you think that your boy can beat them both? And then what would happen? When did
Nuguse become my boy? I mean, I like the guy, but why is he my boy? I don't know. You know what? I don't think Nuguse beats either of those guys. I think it's going to be it's the two of them at the end. Chariot's not touching them. Coleman's not touching them. It's going to be the two going down. I think even if only these two guys raced, it would be super exciting because at this point they have such different narratives. You got Ingebrigtsen. Ingebrigtsen is Mike Tyson, by the way. You know, he's the reigning champ, does everything right, the golden boy. Josh Kerr hasn't run a 1,500 meters outdoors this year. He's done a mile, but not a 15.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, he dabbled in half marathoning.
Hey, he's just working on it. He's just working on his endurance, man.
Let him train.
He's spreading his wings. Come on.
Was Mike Tyson playing floor hockey before his fights? These are two different sports.
See Mike Tyson play floor hockey.
I want to hear him say slap shot. Anyway, I have a dark horse. Can I share my dark horse?
Yes. I must know.
Okay, because I give the win to Ingebrigtsen, and I think it's going to be between the two. My dark horse is new.
Okay.
People are pumping Cole Hawker online.
Oh, yeah.
The other American runner, not Nuguse, but Hawker.
Yep.
I'm not sure why, but rumors come from somewhere. I'm sure that there was something, maybe some conversations at the track that twisted into more rumors around the track, more message board fodder. And I'm sure that the source of it is maybe that Cole Hawker is really fit right now and he's gearing up for a big Olympics. That stuff happens all the time. You have your top American all year, then you get to the actual show and it's someone else who does better. Hawker is a gamer. He's only a few years removed from his university career in Oregon. He's got an amazing finish, great kick. I don't think he's on the level of the other two. But if there's little space to squeeze between Ingebrigtsen and Kerr, and they give a little bit of that inside rail, Hawker's the one to take it.
Okay.
And he also wears a sweet onesie when he races.
Looks like a wrestler.
He does.
Wears a onesie.
Featherweight.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, he wears like the
Fashion
one-piece
statement.
racing suit. He doesn't wear like half tights or shorts and a singlet. He wears like the Team USA candy striper onesie. It's awesome.
Like a triathlon suit without the pads.
He can do a swim in the Seine and then hop out and run a hard 15. My dark horse pick is your boy Nagoose. That's my pick.
Yeah, I'm with you too.
That, like, he sneaks in between like these that something happens in this race and like Ingebrigtsen and Kerr actually like try to kill each other in the first 3 laps, and Nagoose just kind of hangs on, and then they burn each other out, and he sneaks in there in the final on the rail there. But I think what's going to happen is, I think you're right. I think Ingebrigtsen and Kerr are going to come down the line. We're all going to be on our feet. I'm going to be watching this on my phone, screaming at my phone the entire time. And it's going to be one of the marquee events of the Olympics.
Yep.
Must see TV. You got to watch it. Put it in your calendar, for the love of God.
Immediately.
Okay. Let's move on to women's 3,000 meter steeplechase, which takes place right afterwards at 3:10 p.m. Okay, steeple. It's the first steeple event of the Olympics. Steeple is always super fun. There's always an element of uncertainty because you're throwing in weird barriers that people got to jump over and giant puddles of water on the track. So there's always a little bit of chaos. World record 8:44:32 from back in 2018 by Beatrice Chepkoech of Kenya. Our current world champ is Winnie Yavi of Bahrain. She ran 8:54 in Budapest in 2023 to become the world champ. Reigning Olympic champ, Peruth Chemutai of Uganda. She ran that 9:01. So this race is a real, like, the times in this race can vary wildly because it's a championship style race. The time doesn't really matter as much. And who is the favorite here? What do you guys have as the favorite? Alex, you got a favorite?
Oh, I'm so confused. I think this race will define or will crown a queen of steeple, because I think right now there's no queen of steeple.
Yeah.
I want to know what's up with Chepkoech. On paper, she's the queen of steeple, right? She's running 8:44. I remember when she ran it, everyone's jaws dropped to the ground because that time was seen as otherworldly back then and still now. But it's been 6 years. She hasn't broken 8:56 since then. And I wonder what's up. I wonder if this was just a one-off performance, the call me maybe Carly Rae Jepsen of Chepkoech that we never hear from her again, or if she comes back and finds that form again. If she doesn't, field is open, right? I think Yavi is hot right now. She's got a world title. I think Chemutai has Olympic glory, but none of them, I think, have been around long and consistently enough to be crowned queen of steeple. I don't know who wins this. And I think whoever does gets into the next Olympic cycle as the one, whether that's Chepkoech getting back to her fitness, or imagine Chemutai getting 2 straight Olympic titles. That's very hard to do. I'd almost like to see Chemutai do it because she did it last time. I think maybe the field was not as strong as it could have been. She does it twice, proves it's no fluke. And also, I'm a big fan of the Uganda championship movement, where it's like between Kiplimo, Cheptegei, and also now Chemutai. They're establishing themselves as one of the leading distance running countries. So and giving Ethiopia and Kenya something to fight for. So I'm kind of a fan of that. I want to see Chemutai do it.
There you go. You can. if you're a casual watcher of the Olympic track events, you can slide that into conversation with somebody at the bar where you're like, Uganda's really kind of pieced together an interesting distance running team in the last couple of years. They've got this top steeple runner and a couple of really good 5,000 and 10,000 meter runners as well. I think Chemutai is probably the favorite going in. She's got the fastest time this year, fastest qualification time for the Olympics, 8:55, and is sort of really coming on. As you mentioned, Alex, like Chepkoech on paper should be an absolute killer, but she's just not really put it together recently. So, although I foolishly, in my notes, I'm just looking here, I'm like, I picked Chepkoech to win. So that's who I picked to win. What do you guys think?
I also did, but I guess I'm wondering about teammate Jacqueline Chepkoech. Does she stack up? She has an 8:57.
Again, this is sort of like, it's a wide open field this time around. We should say Kenya historically, more so on the men's than the women's side, but Kenya historically has dominated steeplechase. So you're always going to have the potential Kenyan winner there. Why don't we take a quick break, and then we'll come right back and we'll get into talking about one of the other marquee events of the games, which is the women's 200 meter final. Be right back. All right, and we're back, and let's jump into another hot one. Katelyn, I know you're psyched about this.
I'm so psyched.
This event.
I'm so psyched.
This is Tuesday afternoon, Eastern time, 3:40. So that's 9:40 local time in Paris. One of the other marquee events of this track meet at the Olympics, the women's 200 meter final. So there's going to be heats, semifinals, and then the final is the one we're talking about here. And we're assuming that all the contenders are going to make it. Let's just do a little bit of housekeeping first. The world and Olympic record, because this world record was set back in 88. Flojo ran 21:34, and that record still stands, one of the longest standing records at the Olympics. Current world champ, Shakira Jackson of Jamaica, she ran 21:41 last year. So that's very close to that world record.
She's getting there.
Gabby Thomas was second place last year in the World Championships. Gabby Thomas of the United States. And Sha'Carri Richardson, who did not qualify for this event, was the bronze medalist in Budapest last year. The reigning Olympic champion, again, Elaine Thompson-Herah of Jamaica. She didn't make the games. She's got some injury issues. She's not here to defend her crown. So who's the favorite? Who do we got?
I'm sticking with Gabby Thomas, even though I know that Sharika Jackson has the better time with 21:41, and I know she's really gunning for the world record as well. So I think it's going to be a pretty tight race, but I feel like I'm going to stick to Thomas.
I think I'm opposing you. I'm going
That's okay.
Is it okay? I'm going with Jackson.
It's okay.
I'm going with Jackson. I think she's teased us over the last few years, showing us here and there what she can do, but has yet to put her best race together. And I think if Jackson wins, she also gives this record a massive scare. You know, we're talking about the 100 meter, the Flojo records are untouchable. There's Flojo, there's Bolt, there's a few of these records that you think will never be touched. But hey, 0.07 seconds, 700ths of a second is very little, even in a 200 meters. And so I think she's in the ballpark.
That was my next question. Do you think she'll get it though? If she wins, do you think she'll get it? You do.
There's a chance. Okay.
Everything
has to fall into place, but I think the race is worth watching, if nothing else, for that. Yeah.
So I should say that the other contenders in this event. So we mentioned Jackson in detail a second ago there. She's the favorite, I would say. Gabby Thomas is sort of the co-favorite, co-headliner of this event, and a very well-known American sprinter who seems to be ascending right now. And then we mentioned earlier Julian Alfred. She is also, I'd say, a contender in this event. Mackenzie Long of the United States and Dina Asher Smith of Great Britain. I think those are your finalists right there, and maybe a couple of other obviously sprinkled in, but those are the names that you need to pay attention to that should be in this final. All of them. It'd be a bit of a shock if they didn't all make it. And I agree with Alex.
Okay.
I think this is Shericka Jackson. I think she smokes this. I think she's dialed in for it. And I also agree with you. I think that this is a vulnerable world record. Jackson last year at World Championships, as we got to watch in the Netflix docuseries Sprint, she was very close to that world record and seemed super disappointed that she didn't get it. So I think this will be on her mind, and I think this is her event. This is her strongest event between the 100 and the 200. I think she gets it. I think Gabby Thomas has to settle for silver.
Okay. Who's
your dark horse pick?
What about Brittany Brown?
Oh.
What about her? She was someone that I had there on my list that we hadn't mentioned yet. What do you think of her, Alex? Do you think she could medal?
She could medal. I mean, I think the bronze medal slot is wide open. I think that's what it is. I would struggle to see either Thomas or Jackson falter. I would bet a lot of money on those two being top two. Okay. And to a lesser extent, I would give third to Julian Alfred, but I think that spot's more vulnerable. And so someone who wants to jump on the podium for the first time, this is a good race for it. Third is open. So maybe your girl Brown is on there.
We'll see. No,
come on, Alex. Katelyn's, she's already put the pre-order in for the I'm with Gabby t-shirt.
That's true. Absolutely. Yes. Girl. Yeah, that is my girl. Gabby's my girl.
It's the Boston connection, is it?
That's right. She's a Harvard girl, Boston.
So you think you're better than me?
She went to Harvard.
To where?
Oh, you should, if you're like a born and raised Bostonian, like especially if you're from like a blue collar Boston family or background, like don't you kind of hate the Harvard kids though? Like they're all kind of like these out of towners, silver spoon.
Yeah, I still have to stay. I have to stay dedicated to Boston. I have to be on the Boston team. I'm all the way.
I love it when she says Boston, she starts to slip back into it. All right. So I think Mackenzie Long might be my dark horse pick. Okay. She ran really well at trials to get on this team, and like pretty impressive performer. She might sneak onto the podium. Who knows? And so, I think world record is challenged. Maybe it doesn't get broken, but it'll be close. And this is one of the must watch races of the Olympics. I'd say
it's up there with the 1500.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to Wednesday. So next Wednesday, August 7th, first final of the day, 3:20 p.m. Eastern time, men's 400 meter final. World record is starting to get a little long in the tooth. Back in 2016, I remember it like it was yesterday. Wade van Niekerk of South Africa ran a phenomenal time. He was quite an athlete, and still, I think still competing by the end of his career right now. Current world champ is Antonio Watson of Jamaica. And Matthew Hudson Smith of Great Britain was a silver medalist last year. And Quincy Hall of the United States was in bronze at Budapest. Reigning Olympic champ Stephen Gardner of Bahamas ran 43.85 back in that silent stadium in Tokyo in 2021. Okay, so who's the favorite? Is it a little bit of a toss-up, maybe? But I know, Alex, you're a little bit more hawkish on Matthew Hudson Smith, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's one of those things of just peaking at the right time. So Hudson Smith, Great Britain, just put down his best ever 400 meters earlier this season, 43.76, I believe, and not many people have run that quickly, and so that puts him in the realm of the defending Olympic champ who's run just about that fast. So Stephen Gardner. So I expect the final to be a Brit competing against, a Bohemian. Someone from the Bahamas, Bahamian.
A Bahamian.
A Brit and a Bahamian.
Okay.
Battling for gold, chased by 3 Americans.
Quincy Hall in there?
No. Quincy Hall, Michael Norman, Vernon Norwood. That's the big 3. 3 American men who have hovered around the 44 flat barrier for years. It's a very tight, a very deep American team. The 16-year-old Quincy Wilson, the phenom, who's run low 44 seconds, was left off this 400-meter team, which is pretty phenomenal in terms of depth. But I think the Americans, as deep as they are, won't really catch some eyeballs at the very front of the race, because I think it's going to be Great Britain and Bahamas.
Okay.
I'd say the contenders here are, I got a list here of Quincy Hall, Michael Norman, Vernon Norwood, as you mentioned, the 3 Americans, and the now veteran Karani James. He used to be kind of he used to be the young buck, the sort of up and comer, and now he's this old chiseled veteran who's actually pulled out some good performances in recent years. So he's definitely still a contender. He represents Grenada. And Havard Ingvelson of Norway is an up and comer as well to keep an eye out on. So my pick would be, I have it as a toss up between Gardner and Hudson Smith. You know, you can't discount that world championship or Olympic pedigree of being able to perform in that sort of most pressure filled moment, and to be able to get through heats, semis, and finals, and then deliver in the final, and know how to kind of like dole out that effort. So I think it's a toss up. Who do you got, Katelyn?
I feel like I'm going against you guys in a bunch of these. I had Quincy Hall up there, Quincy Hall and Matthew Hudson Smith. And I also was thinking, I don't know, do you think that Karani James he's 3-time Olympic champ, right? But just not, we think he's not up there in the top 3? It's going to be tough.
I'd love to see him up there. But
yeah,
to me, I think a success for Karani James at this point in his career, now that he's battled some injuries over the years, would be to make the final.
Okay.
That if Karani James makes the final, I think he makes a case for being one of the 400-meter runners with the best longevity inside of a career. Medalist, finalist many years in a row. I'd love to see him in the final. I'd love to see him sneak out a medal, but I wouldn't bet on it. I think it's unlikely.
Okay.
World record, I think it's pretty safe.
Oh yeah. No one's touching Van Niekerk. That 43.03. I remember watching that performance. He was a man possessed running.
Yeah, that was a really wild, because that was at the Olympics that he
in Rio,
right? Yeah. Okay, moving on. 3:40 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, the men's 3,000 meter steeplechase world record. Lameka Gourmet. Apologies, Mr. Gourmet, for pronouncing Gourmet.
I think it's Gourmet. Let's hope he doesn't listen.
And if he does, amazing. I'll have you on the show. He set the world record last year. 7:52.11.
Wow.
Wow. It's a scorcher considering you got to like jump over a bunch of stuff and into a bunch of water. And have either of you ever run a steeplechase race?
No, I don't even think I could get over one of those barriers, Michael. Come on. I
have run steeple once.
Wow.
Yep, one time.
Okay.
And?
What was your time? Could you be up here?
I have no
You're
idea.
Like 8:03.
No, you're like, I was second at the Canadian Championships. No, it's what's so messed up about the steeple is just how with every obstacle, every barrier you've got to clear just totally throws off your rhythm. It's like it feels like a 5,000 meter, but it's got the intensity of like a 15. It's really hard to get your rhythm going. And every time you come down from one of those barriers, you're just like, it just jars you. And that's why when you're watching this event, like, man, it's exciting when you're watching it at a championship, because there's so many gear changes and so many things happen, and there's so many variables and so much potential for danger. Like if you get someone who falls or really poorly manages going over a barrier, it completely changes the nature of the race. Okay, so Girma, he's in this race. He's sort of at the peak of his powers, but the current world champ is Soufiane El Bakkali of Morocco, who I would say going into this is probably the favorite because he is also the 2021 Olympic champ. But Girma has been in the mix, has been the second place finisher in both of those world championship style events as well. I should mention to you guys, we said before that Kenya has been dominant. This is a cool fact. This is a neat little tidbit that our listeners can share and make themselves look really smart and dialed in. Kenya won every men's steeplechase Olympic final from 1968 until 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, they were dominant at this event until Mr. El Bakkali came along in Tokyo. So I would say the contenders are Girma, El Bakkali, Koech of Kenya, and Kibiwot of Ethiopia. Those are names to look for if you're watching this one. And I think the head-to-head results that are worth noting, of course, are the El Bakkali and Girma throwdowns in the past. Who do you guys think will win?
I'm with you with Girma.
I'm an El Bakkali guy.
Oh, yeah, me too.
He's a standard, a classic, tall, lanky steepler who sails over the barriers like nothing. It looks like he's made to steeple, and he's proven that he could win. I don't know why, and maybe this is just my perception of things, but it seems like the steeple, ever since I started watching track and field, which is probably somewhere around 2008 at the Beijing Olympics, people run fast in practice. And by practice, I mean these exhibition meets, these Diamond League meets, they feel like practice by the time you get to the Olympic Games. Any Olympic Games, you have a few athletes who've run incredibly quickly and then are nowhere to be seen. There's something to be said, I think, about being a gamer, especially in the steeple. Maybe it's because you have to deal with all these variables. Year after year, you have an athlete who comes in and he's about 4, 5, 6 seconds more faster than the field, and they don't deliver. And if maybe El Bakkali doesn't have the fastest time in the field, like Girma's 7:52 is disgusting. But I still think that when push comes to shove, El Bakkali knows how to win. He's going to win.
I'm going Girma. I feel like it's his time. You know, there's only so many times that you can come in silver and also be that fast. Because it's not like he's just a pure low stakes performer and has the world record. And we see that from time to time in track, right? Where someone is able to deliver when everything is very controlled and set up for them. But when the pressure is on and there's no pacing, there's no, the race isn't catered towards you trying to go after some world record, that you're able to deliver. But Girma's a guy who's like, he's got a couple of world championship style silver medals in his back pocket. So, and he's still quite young. So I'm going Girma. What about you, Katelyn?
I say Girma all the way with you. I'm pro Girma.
Pro Girma. I'm with Girma. Dark horse pick, maybe Kibiwot, I would say. Kind of one of the other Kenyan guys looming around.
Okay.
Runs a perfect race, sneaks in there. World record, I don't think it's going to even be close to being touched. And yeah, okay, let's move on to Thursday. Next Thursday, August 8th, 2:30 p.m. Where will you be?
Watching the 200 meter final.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we'll be.
200 meter finals. One of the signature events of this track and field meet at the Olympics in Paris. World record, Mr. Usain Bolt, 1919, one of the famous world records in track, set way back 15 years ago in 2009. I believe at the Berlin World Championships, if I'm not mistaken. Olympic record, also Bolt's 1930, back in 2008 in Beijing. I don't think they're getting touched. Current world champ.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, Alex.
Hold it. Just let's get through this here.
I want to hear this.
Okay, so the current world champ is Noah Lyles of the United States. This is his big event. Worth noting that American teammate Arian Knighton, young, super talented 200-meter specialist, came in second place in the World Championships last year. 2021 Olympic champ, our boy Alex. Okay. Andre DeGrasse. Sort of surprised in 2021, even though I'd say that he is a more of a 200-meter runner than he is a 100-meter runner. And the favorite going into this race, I think it's pretty clearly Noah Lyles. 1947 Olympic qualifying time. So we do the math on that. That's 17 milliseconds off of Bolt's Olympic record and about 1 million miles off his world record, in my opinion. And the contenders being Tebogo, Bednarek, Knighton, as we mentioned before, Zarnell Hughes of the United Kingdom, and the old man in the race, Andre DeGrasse, who seems fairly healthy, and this would be the event that he would be keying in on, I would imagine. What do you guys think? Who's the favorite going into this one? Who's going to win?
I'm going to be honest. Even though I didn't pick him for the 100, I'm going to go with Noah Lyles for the 200. I just feel like this is his event. This is his, what did he say? His wife. This is where his wife.
Yes.
This is where he shines. Yes. And I just think he's in. I think this is where he's going to shine and take that gold.
It's kind of like it's win-win for him with this event. If he flames out in the 100 or, doesn't win the 100, that's firepower for this 200 for him to deliver on, right? If he wins the 100-meter final and he's got a gold medal going into this, confidence will be like through the roof for him, and he thrives on confidence, right? So yeah. What do you got, Alex? You got Lyles? Are we going for the sweep here?
I've got Lyles, to the extent that I think that usually the 200 is the second show, right? It's the 100, and then the 200 is also cool. This time around, I think on the men's side, at least the 200 is going to be more interesting than the 100-meter final. And I think it's because a record might go down. I'm holding this. Noah Lyles' best time is 1931. The Olympic record is 1930. When Lyles ran 1931, he had yet to run 100 meters as quickly as he has this year. I think he has the best top speed of his life right now. And all he has to do is beat his 200 personal best by 0.01. This is a big bet to make. You won't always beat your time, especially if you're at that level like Lyles is. But the record's within reach. And you can't say that about the 100. I think it's just as likely that a Bolt record goes down in the men's 200 as it is that a FloJo record goes down in the women's 200. And I think Lyles is the one to do it.
That's a hot take. I love it. I love when your takes are hot. That's got the burning embers to warm that take up. You've had that on the fire for a long time, and I like it.
I also stand to win $10, as we talked about in a previous podcast.
Oh, that's right.
I bet Donovan Bailey, the former world record holder in the 100 and Canadian 100-meter co-record holder, that Lyles would one day beat Bolt's record. Bailey laughed. He said, if anyone does it, it's Letsile Tebogo of Botswana. He's also going to be there. But anyway, I want my $10. So Lyles is my guy. I do think Tebogo is a good pick to stir the pot, but I don't think he's touching Lyles.
So he's your dark horse for this.
Yeah.
And
he's
Kenny?
my dark horse.
What about Kenny?
I feel like Kenny's got to win something at these Olympic Games. But
no comment. No comment.
No, I think my pick is Arian Knighton as the dark horse winner. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he won this. He is a phenomenal 200-meter runner who's like the complete package in the 200, right? So wouldn't be surprised. He's got some international experience now. He was like the fascinating, tantalizing teenage talent just a few short years ago, but he's run a couple of world championships and now in Olympics. I think he's an interesting pick for a dark horse. If you're looking to, like, this is the first Olympics where you can really legitimately gamble on Olympic events in a big way in most of the United States and in Canada and in parts of Europe as well, where gambling is legal. And I'm noticing some of the sports books, some of the apps are now carrying odds for some of these track events. And this one certainly will get odds. And I bet you Knighton's probably got a pretty good betting. Like, I bet you that's a pretty good bet right now, because Lyles will have all the money and all the action will be on Lyles, and rightfully so. He's the favorite. Okay. Last event we're going to talk about. Oh, wait a minute. No, not last event. Second to last event. The penultimate event that we're going to talk about in this week's pod for the next 7 days of events in Paris. And this is a big one. Yep. Women's 400-meter hurdles, 3:25 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday afternoon next week. World record holder, Sydney McLaughlin Lavrone. Am I getting that right, Katelyn?
Is it Lavrone or Lavroni?
Is it Lavroni or is it Lavrone? I don't know. Sydney McLaughlin set the world record earlier this summer, 50.65.
Yep.
She is on a tear right now. Although reigning world champion is Femke Bol, who is also racing. She is from the Netherlands. She is a legit contender in this one, I would say. And McLaughlin did not race in last year's world championships, so we did not get a head-to-head between the two of them in that situation. But McLaughlin does hold a nice gold medal from the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. So she's got that. She knows how to win on the big stage. I think it's safe to say that McLaughlin's the favorite, right?
It is, but I'm really excited to see the face-off. I'm really excited to see the face-off between her and Femke Bol, who has the 50.95, right, was her latest big time. So I think, she's getting closer. She will down. People are looking forward to see that face-off. I'm super excited to see that face-off. I want to see what happens.
Yeah.
I'd say sorry, go on.
No, I'm with Katelyn. I think when one athlete comes and destroys everybody in one event, it's one thing, like the Bolt effect. But when there are two that advance an event, I think it creates just so much momentum for the next generation of athletes. And the best thing that can happen, I think, for the 400 hurdles and track and field in general is for those two to go wire to wire and both break the record. I'm actually not even cheering for one of them, to be honest. I just want them to go as fast as they can. I don't have a favorite. Maybe I should pick one. And
they're the only two sub 51 seconds, right? As well. The only two women ever. Yeah. It's awesome.
Other contenders would be Rochelle Clayton of Jamaica and probably Anna Cockrell of the United States. As mentioned before, we've not really got to see McLaughlin and Bol race too many times in the past, but we did get a face-off in Tokyo, but that's 3 years ago. I feel like a lot has changed in that time, and both have ascended quite rapidly in that time as well. I think we got to watch out for the world record, because this is a distance, the faster, shorter stuff. This is a distance that you can get a world record in an Olympic final, especially with two athletes at the peak of their powers pushing each other like this. I mean, I think this is a no-brainer. This is a must-watch event. I think if it were just McLaughlin, it were just the McLaughlin show, like, cool, whatever. Yeah, okay. It's neat to watch somebody dominate, but the fact that you've got Bol in there too makes it a really dynamic race.
Well, when she finally has some competition, when you have that competition, that's when you're really going to push yourself. It's not a sure thing. So I think that's going to make it exciting.
Yeah. Dark horse pick. Is there a dark horse? I wrote down Clayton as a question mark, maybe, like if just somehow Bull and McLaughlin both have the old bad day at the office, to use another cliche. I think maybe Clayton can sneak in there, but I highly doubt that both of them have.
Yeah, there's a race for gold and then a race for bronze.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, last event we're going to talk about before we shut it down for this week. Men's 110 hurdle final, 3:45, caps off a pretty decent day next Thursday on the Olympic sked. It's kind of nice that because Alex and I are both Eastern time. You're Costa Rica time, Katelyn.
Yeah, I'm 2 hours behind you guys. I'll be getting up pretty early for some. Well, not really.
Well, not these.
Yeah,
ones.
not these ones.
These ones are great because they're midday for us, so we can. This is our job. We can watch this stuff guilt free. But if you're listening along and you can open a tab while you're working and have that going, or just have it on your phone. Lots of great stuff to watch all afternoon. Okay, so men's 110 hurdles. Won't get into why it's 110 and why the women's hurdles is 100 meters, whatever. It just seems so weird and stupid. But men's 110 meter hurdles, world record by American Arias Merritt from way back in 2012. I remember this, Ray. I remember this performance, 1280. It's pretty quick. Olympic record 2004 is 1219. Current world champ Grant Holloway of the US of A, 1296 in Budapest for the win, with Hansel Parchment of Jamaica and Daniel Roberts, also the United States, in second and third. Reigning Olympic champ is Mr. Parchment of Jamaica, who ran 13:04 in Tokyo to take the gold medal, with Holloway coming in silver back in the day. I'd say the favorite is pretty clearly Grant Holloway.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. He ran 1286, a world lead to qualify for the Olympics. He's just on fire. I think he's going to take this. What do you guys think?
I have Holloway for the win. This is a great display of the old America versus Jamaica rivalry. I could see it go States, Jamaica in who knows what order. I'm excited for that. I think Holloway, what he has on the others, we're talking about hundredths of seconds, but what he has is that championship experience that I think is difficult to replicate. But I think at this point, Parchment, Freddie Critterton, Rashid Broadbell, these up and comers and these runners up, let's call them, are so close that this pressure might lead to a really fast time. If wind permitting, we could see maybe that 1280 go down.
Oh,
so I don't want to call that the record will go down because I can't do that for every sprinting event that doesn't involve a gold record. This sounds ridiculous, but I think we're going to see a fast race, and I'll leave it at that.
To note here, like Holloway has the second fastest all time. He was a millisecond or a tenth of a second, I guess, hundredth of a second off of the world record time, but that was back in 2021, right? So he's not reproduced that recently, but he's very, very quick. He's actually very quick as a sprinter, like just on the flat, in the flat events, as they call them. He's pretty quick too. And he's also got the 60-meter hurdle world record. So he was quick indoors as well. Interesting guy. I was reading about him earlier this morning in prep for this. He was offered to go play football for University of Georgia, which is like basically effectively playing for an NFL team because they're like the best, Georgia, Alabama, and a couple and Michigan and a couple others are like the dominant NCAA football schools. And usually you at least get a look with the NFL if you play for Georgia, and certainly if you start for them. He opted not to play for Georgia, instead went and ran track at the University of Florida where his dad coaches. So this guy is like all in on a sport that doesn't pay that much money compared to football, right? So he's a true believer in track and
Kind of
field.
makes you root for him.
I love it. Yeah. I'm in for it. I think the sell for this event is you come to watch the event before it with McLaughlin versus Bull in the 400 meter women's hurdle final, and then you stay and hang around and watch this event.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we did it. The cheat sheet for the first 7 days of the Olympic track events in the books next Thursday. So we're staying with a Thursday schedule. We're going to come back at you next Thursday morning, 5-ish in the morning. The podcast will drop next week. And next week, we're going to cover the remaining events, but we're mostly going to focus on our namesake, the marathon. We're mostly going to focus on the men's and the women's marathon. The women's marathon this time around closes the Olympics, which is super cool. As we were chatting before we hit record on this pod about how back in the day, the Olympics used to literally the Olympic marathon would finish in the Olympic Stadium, and then they would just roll right into the closing ceremonies right away with the marathoners streaming across the finish line. Don't know if they do it that way anymore, but the marathon is obviously I'd say besides the 100-meter finals, they're the marquee events of the Olympics, I think. So we'll go deep on both of the marathons next week. We'll spend most of our time focusing on those, and we'll touch upon some other events that are coming up at the end of the Olympic program as well. Hopefully we've been helpful. We got our picks in there. I think, what are you guys most excited? What are you most excited about over the next week? What's the one that sticks out in your mind that you're I have to watch this event?
I'm sticking with the 200-meter women's final. I can't wait. That's going to be the most exciting, I think.
Yeah.
Alex?
For me, it's the men's 1500.
I knew it. I would have guessed. I would have bet $10.
Too good. Too good. Too good to miss.
Yeah, I'm interested in it's a tough one. I'm not as excited about the men's 100-meter final as I am the women's 100-meter final. I actually want to watch the women's 100-meter final more than the men's 100-meter final, but there's real intrigue with the men's 100-meter final, whether or not Noah Lyles can start off with a big win. And I think that's a monumental task for a guy like that to pull off. So I'm excited to see both those events. 1500 is going to be just absolutely nuts. And the 200-meter women's 200-meter, it's going to be really intriguing as well. Okay, so if you don't already, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Goes out Monday to Friday, 5 days a week, 5:05 Eastern time in your inbox, and you're going to get stuff like what we sent out today with accompanying this podcast is basically an entire everything you need to know edition of the newsletter about the Paris Olympics, including a link to this pod. So make sure you subscribe to that, and we'll be doing some quick updates and that sort of thing. And I also think we're going to do a couple of emergency pods in the next week. We'll jump on. They'll be shorter, probably a little quick 20-minute chat about holy shit, this world record just got broken, or can you believe that Josh Kerr physically football tackled Ingebrigtsen in the final straight, or something like that. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and rate and write a review for this podcast. It goes a long way in helping us to reach more runners like yourself. Okay, teammates.
All right.
Good luck to the United States. Good luck to Costa Rica. And we're also cheering for Team Canada. We'll talk to you in a week's time.